Hey, I'm Sylvan, I'm the dad photographer. So first of all, thanks for all of you who have clicked on this video. I know it's been 6 months since my last video. Fact is, I had a lot of work and a lot of things to do. And when it came to decide between taking pictures or making YouTube videos, I went on taking pictures. So just to get back in the mix, I wanted to talk to you about my setup really, what's in my bag, but like what's my lens lineup. So yeah, this is my lineup. Of course, I hardly ever go out with all of them. So what I'm going to do is going to present to you each and every lens, and then afterwards just talk to you about some permutations I use and why I like this lineup, and that's it. We're going to have a nice and sweet video. As you can see, it's changed a lot since last time I talked about the lenses I owned. Why? Well, because I try to keep a balanced budget, meaning that any money I can get from my photography activity, I put back into lenses, but it's not always enough, so I have to sell some other lenses. So the missing lenses are, of course, and that's one that I actually miss a lot. The Samyang f2, and I also had the 20mm f2, which has been replaced by this big chunky bit of kit. And I also sold the XC55 to 200, no, sorry, XC50 to 230, which was a lovely lens, and it was actually a present, a gift from friends, but it helped to get the XF90, so I sold it for a very good reason. Where to start? Well, first of all, no zooms, and it's just personal preference. I don't enjoy taking pictures with zooms, and I really don't mind changing the lenses around. The one zoom I've used and which I found really marvelous was the 16 to 55, but it's a chunky bit of kit. It's heavier than this one is, I believe. And so really, even if it's the only thing you have in your bag and the quality is great and crisp and superb, yeah, I just don't like it. I actually sold the zoom lens that came with this one, which was the 18 to 50, which is a great lens too, because I didn't have much use for it, and I really didn't feel like using it. Let's start with the one that's always on my camera, 35mm. You all know it. Actually, it could be my Leonardo DiCaprio. It can do everything. It's really my standard lens. You can do really pristine jobs with them. You can do less, more everyday things. It's very versatile, a bit like Leonardo DiCaprio. This one I like to call my Oscar Isaac. Why? Well, because it probably can do everything Leonardo DiCaprio does. It's a bit younger, it's a bit quicker, and it's also a bit more of an action lens. I actually use it more for my portrait sessions. I use it a lot also during the home studio sessions. It's a lens I really enjoy. Let's go back to the wide angle, 16 2.8. I'd like to say, oh God, well, there's no chance I ever watch my YouTube video, but I think it's like a Paul Rudd or Ryan Reynolds. It's like, it can go out in the rain and can do a lot of things, action shots also. But if you want to do some really quality work, you maybe shouldn't go with this one. What I mean, it's maybe the only lens where softness is an issue for me, especially at 2.8. It clears up at 4. It's brilliant by 4, between 4 and 5.6. And the reason why I have this one and not its heavier sibling is, well, because of weight, and because you never know when you need a 16mm, but you really know when you've got a 16mm f1.4 in your bag. So sometimes a good Paul Rudd movie is all you need, and most times this 16 2.8 is what I need. This one here, probably George Clooney. Yeah, it's It's really, really, it's a beautiful lens first. It's well crafted. It's a bit oldish. Oh God, he's going to hate it. It's a bit oldish, but it's really great. You can do some top-notch work with it. You can do some everyday work with it. I haven't used it much yet, but it's certainly a great addition. It's probably better to me in every way to the f2. It's a slightly bigger, but a bit like George Clooney, I guess it's probably too pricey for what it does and what it brings on the table. So I justify it for weddings, really, and it's lovely. It's lovely, and you know what? It's been accused of not focusing quick enough, but I've never found it to be lagging in any ways. It's beautiful. Here we have it. Oh yeah, and the last one. This one is a rock. Well, first of all, look at it, and second, it's because it's an action lens. It's got a quadrilinear motor. It's a fast focusing lens, and it's got more range than people think. You know, you'd think it would be just a perfect portrait lens, but it's really can be used for some in a limited fashion, I guess. But you can do some decent animal photography with it. Action shots, of course. Portrait, you can. Home studio, if I stay outside to take the pictures inside the house. But it's really good. It's just so heavy. It's super chunky, and I think that's really the limit of what I can have in my bag. And so I'm not going to go with it every day, but from time to time I just love it. Also, it's by far the sharpest lens I've owned, and it's the only lens. I mean, at f2, if I go to f2.8, I do see a little jump, but then afterwards it's just super sharp until f11. So I believe it's the only lens that pushes the X-T2 to the limit, because I believe from f2.8 to f11, the camera is actually the limit in picture quality, and I think I only get this limit between f4 and f5.6 on this one, and probably f4 in the center with this one. And of course this one is super sharp. By the way, in order of sharpness, we've got number 1, number 2, number 3, and far behind, number 4. Afterwards, so who am I going to bring on which setup? So my rainy day kit is Paul Wood here and Oscar Isaac. The 50 actually only goes out when I'm going on a walk. It only comes with me if the weather is iffy, and then it replaces Leonardo DiCaprio. My everyday walk by good weather would be these two or these two, depending on where I'm going and how much, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, all weather photography. I'm actually tempted. I'm tempted now to bring those two from time to time. So it's a lot of decision making when I'm preparing my bag. This one hardly ever comes with me. I really need to know that there'll be some open field or some action, some sports going on, or maybe if I'm going to the zoo, or if I know the kids are going to run around in a garden or something, then I will take this one paired with the 35. If I'm only bringing one lens, it's a 35 most of the, well, yeah, I'd say 70% of the time. I guess a 23 is going to come to be a bit more used, especially if I'm going somewhere inside. So 35 is all situations really, and the 23 will replace it if it's kind of interior, like at the aquarium or in a museum, or, you know, people's birthday party and so on. 50mm will be my one lens in winter, especially when I walk the dog, for example, and I'm outside and there's space. The 50 will be with me. And the 16 never is my one lens setup. I did do one walk in Paris with it a few weeks ago, and nothing else. I wanted to be super light, but I was so frustrated. It was so frustrating. I don't recommend. The thing is, when I shoot with my 16mm, I feel like I'm shooting with my phone. It's like, you know, you don't want Paul Rudd in all of your movies, and you don't want to have only him. You can still get some great results, but it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit limited, let's be honest. Evolutions, who's missing? Well, the 23f2 was a cheaper version of George Clooney. Who? I'm not going to say who. No, I'm not saying. But it does everything the 1.4 does, except being sharp at close focus at f2. So yeah, this one is just so sharp, and it's so nice, you know, to use. So that's my lens lineup. I'm super happy with it. I think maybe what's missing now, it's the astrophotography lens. I'm hoping on the Viltrox 1.4. I haven't tested the 23 1.4. It's probably this summer I'll test it for astrophotography, see what it's worth. Yeah, the Samyang f2 would be some kind of very special actor who only does one thing, you know, does it well, but it's really, really, really specialized and can't be used in most situations, especially as it's hard to work with it. I don't know, like Robert Downey Jr., I guess. It's not easy to work with it. It's just so special, and you really need to be really good to take the best out of it. But yeah, so I had to sell it to get this one. Easier to work with. Paul Rudd, completely. It's a lineup that's been 6 years in the making, slowly, you know, built up from the 35 and then built around. And so happy with it, really. Thanks for all those beautiful lenses, Fuji, I guess. If you have any questions on any of those lenses, I'm really happy to answer. And see you next time. Bye-bye.